I am.
I literally just hit dial and it picked up instead. So.
Well, did you try calling me right before that?
No, I just.
Interesting. Doing some last minute preparations on your big topics for today?
Yeah, man, I've been at the library doing some old school research on triathlon.
Diving in the archives, huh?
Yeah. I've been reading a lot about Dave Scott and actually his ancestors.
Yeah.
And maybe how that all came together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, we're going to talk about wooden arrow bars. Oh, I am so excited to get into your topic today.
Yeah, I know you are.
How
First
you been?
off, I've been great, man. I've been pretty solid.
Yeah.
Been a decent week. Slowed down. The weather here is insane.
Like good insane or bad?
Yeah, did my long run today in t-shirts and shorts. So
2 t-shirts?
No, just one.
Okay.
But thanks for clarifying.
No problem.
And it's been like 60s and 70s here. I mean, I know global warming is bad, allegedly, from what I understand.
No, it's fake, right?
It's that and sunscreen. Like, let's not get on this topic.
Ooh.
But man, this is hard to argue with 70s in February here in Kansas City, and I know that you guys have had really good weather, or at least pretty good weather in Nashville, because pretty much, I think I got there today maybe, because I had most of my athletes in Tennessee elected to run yesterday in a little more dicey weather and get outside today, because I guess it's supposed to be sunny and warm.
Yeah, it's really nice. In fact, I went to a baseball game earlier.
Did you?
Yeah, my buddy's kid's in town playing out at Vol State or something.
Yeah. Vol State. Is that in Cookeville?
I'm sorry. Maybe it's not Vol State. No. Well, whatever this is in Gallatin. It's a junior college.
Yeah, you know what? It is Vol State. I was thinking of Tennessee Tech. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Vol State.
It's a JUCO operation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the bug back? You going to join like an intramural baseball league tomorrow?
No, I have zero interest in baseball right now.
Gosh. What do you think about them starting somebody on second base in extra innings this coming year?
No. I've never heard that. Are you telling me that?
Yeah, dude. There's a couple things that you and I don't joke about. One of them is baseball, and I believe they're gonna try it out in either some of the farm systems or in some of like the Grapefruit League or something. They're gonna start a man on second base in the extra innings to kind of speed that part of the game up.
Wow.
Kind of test and see how it goes. Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Yeah, I'm 100% against that in Major League Baseball, but if they want to do it in the minor leagues, that's fine with me because those games are drag way too much.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, the ninth inning should be it should be over.
They could get even crazier if you want. I don't know. Throw fireworks. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, who cares? Nobody cares about minor league baseball since Jordan left the Birmingham team. Who else actually saw play in person, mind you?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was my only Jordan sighting ever. They came and played the Nashville Sounds. But when he played for it was a Birmingham Barons, I believe it was. Yeah, sure was Birmingham Barons. But no, a couple things that. First off, thank you so much for all the listeners. We had an incredible week last week with downloads and subscribers, and apparently everybody really loved our interview with Delmo Sports and Stephen Del Monte, and we got some great reviews, and it's just really humbling, as you kind of texted me earlier this week, Mike, to read those. And I remember back in October or something, we were starting to think about maybe doing this and committing to the consistency of doing it and making it happen and putting a lot of thought and effort into it. And it is, man. It's been very humbling to get the feedback and the emails and really actually kind of feel like we're doing something good and we're helping people make some positive changes.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. And not only that, a lot of people that email us, those kind of things and questions become part of the podcast. So it's sort of, everyone's included. I do want to make it sort of a two-way street as much as possible, and input, and I don't know. I think it does make you feel good, and it also helps me get motivated when people are telling me their stories and giving us good comments, and it keeps us going. I think on the podcast for sure. I mean that you hear that all the time, but it's a fact.
Yeah, it is, and we've got hopefully we've got some really other great guests lined up here in the next month or two that are going to be really awesome. Steve Magnus is going to come on next month, late March, I think is what we decided is when he was free. But Steve is probably one of the most well-respected run coaches, if not one of the top 2 or 3 in the U.S., if not top 5 or 10 in the world. Wow. He coaches in a University of Houston cross-country team and track, I believe, pro runners, and he is just he's just widely respected. And he's actually going to be the co-authoring of that book, Peak Performance, with Brad Stolberg, who we're going to have on in I think April or May. But an incredible guy and somebody I look up to and respect a lot, and so I'm looking forward to having him on. And it's pretty crazy, but I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah, that'll be really great to have those guys.
Oh man, it's going to be incredible. So much knowledge to come out. But a couple things that I thought we could talk about today that I think are one is definitely fitting, just because of the time of the year, and the other one was just something that I had thought about earlier this week when I was out on a run. And the second topic we'll discuss here in a little bit is just kind of how you can deal with being sick.
Okay.
And because I know that there are people dropping like flies right now.
Is that right?
Oh gosh, like I know here it's crazy. I know in Nashville it's crazy. My mom's a middle school principal, and she said there was like 17 counties had closed school because of the flu.
Really? How much of that is legitimately based on change of seasonal type stuff? Are we allowed to change it? Yeah, the daylight savings.
It's right now. Yeah, I mean, it's like this is prime time. Like I think Hayden here, when we took Hayden to the pediatrician, or I took him this last Monday because he was having some more respiratory issues. They just put him on this nebulizer and just said, "Hey, let's just stick with this until mid-March because it's going around. Everybody's getting it. There's really no hiding from it. It's just wade your way through until mid-March and it'll be better."
What is it? That's what I always want to know. Everybody's getting it. What is it?
It's some kind of I would say either some kind of like sinus cold congestion, whether it be just a head cold or also a chest cold, sinus infection. I haven't had anybody get the flu or pneumonia, knock on wood. But a lot of people, this is a time of year where people just tend to get something, like some kind of a funk. I have, again, I'll knock on wood, haven't had anything since like October, November. Been trying to really take good care of myself. But I thought we can cover that first, actually, is just how to deal with being sick and how to adjust your training, what it does to your mentality, especially when you're on a roll. Because this is that time of year where we're hitting towards the end of February, and we're really close to almost like peak, what I would call peak early season, which I would consider like mid-March to full-on April, because most people kind of start to scratch their triathlon itch from a racing standpoint in May. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 athletes doing their first half marathon race in 2 weeks, and so it's like we are upon race season.
Man, thank God one of them's not me.
Yeah, dude, you're telling me. And so it can be very, very frustrating. And we've so if you're out there listening, you've got some kind of a nagging this or a nagging that, and you've kind of come down with some kind of a funk, and you don't have anybody to kind of tell you to stop and slow down. Generally speaking, if it's from the chin up, it is okay to just continue on training as normal. Mm-hmm. If you're super congested, a lot of times actually a nice hard workout will actually just kind of bust it up, and you'll just cough it, sneeze it out, and kind of move on with your life.
Yeah.
Now, if it moves down towards the chest, that's when you kind of need to take it day to day. And that's what I go with most of my athletes is, listen, let's slow it down. Intensity, you throw it out the window. It just doesn't exist. There's no need to really push and dive into like, your reserves in your system and really just stress your overall immune system by doing like hard threshold, or even tempo work on your trainer or on, running. And so you can keep it easy, but a couple of days off never hurts. It's like get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of fluids, eat right, and don't worry about it. Like going out for a 20-minute run isn't going to do you anything. If anything, it's just going to deplete your immune system anymore, and like all of your energy and all of your body's energy and all its caloric expenditure should be focused on getting well.
Yeah.
And this time of year, it's just hard for people because people have their New Year's resolutions. They start training. It's only been 4 or 5 weeks, and then bam, they're hit with something.
You know what? You want to hear? I have a little bit of a theory based on your above the chin. You said above the chin is okay to keep going. One of my theories on that is that when the weather does break like this, and you go out and you start doing a long ride or a long run in this kind of open air, fresh air kind of thing, I really think it sort of supercharges your oxygen cells and it pushes things out. So it's just kind of getting rid of stuff in your head and your body that's maybe accumulated over the winter, and it feels like a sickness, sometimes, and it's just sort of that, that kind of allergy-ish type thing, and that's another one too. Is probably just being outside and not used to the elements. And
oh yeah, right now especially when it's getting warm, and basically every part of at least the U.S., like you've hit some kind of a warm spell, and I think there's probably something to it. It's kind of like your body's way of doing some spring cleaning. It's like here, you've kind of accumulated all this stuff, and then let's get it all out. Because I've been doing I'll do all my runs outside, but it's gotten a lot warmer, and like I just kind of had a little tickle in my throat, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. I'm not getting this crap. I'm not doing it. But generally that's what I would tell people is it's February. Don't compromise 3 or 4 days to lose a whole year.
Yeah.
Because if this trickles down into your chest and it becomes like a viral infection or something even worse, you can lose weeks. And then coming back from it, it's even harder. Because I'll give you an example. I've got an athlete that Chris Gerard, and he hasn't been really sick, but he had a half marathon a few weeks ago, and he got kind of borderline probably symptoms of being sick. It's not like full blown, put me on the couch. But we made it to the half marathon. But after that, we spent the next 2 weeks doing, a much more aggressive, like kind of recovery period than I would normally do, just because, just like after any kind of hard interval work that you will do on your trainer, on the treadmill, outside, in the pool, you're immunocompromised.
Right.
And especially if you do some kind of a race like a half marathon, if you're already kind of flirting with being sick or not, now is the time to just go extra cautious and soak it in, and take a couple more days off than you probably normally would, because your body is so immunocompromised from doing all the damage you did during your race that there's only so much your body can do to heal. And it needs to take its focus on healing you and whatever kind of infection you have, or it's going to want to heal your body from the damage you just put it on. When you start to split those in half is when you really just, frankly, you get a negative effect, because you can't do both well. So you're not going to recover great, and you're going to keep getting sicker, and then you're going to reach a point to where it's just time to put you on a shelf for a week, or maybe even longer. And that's where you have to have a lot of, you kind of got to put your ego in check, have a little, long-term vision and patience. Patience mostly is definitely the most difficult thing I've got to kind of work with my athletes, and that's probably one of the biggest bonuses and positives of having a coach is having that person there to say, do you really think swimming today is a good idea? Because I don't.
Yeah.
It's just, or to talk to someone on a daily basis on this is how I feel, or this is how, okay, take another day off.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of takes the pressure and expectations off you and lets it be, let someone a little more objective and a lot of times knowledgeable make that decision for you and kind of take that really not big decision, but it seems like at the time, out of your hands and just take an extra day.
Yeah, you can give them the step back and look at it view, and they're just kind of like their mind is running in circles, worrying about missing workouts and what have you, and you realize that not one or two workouts to a season make or a race make. So it is good to have you there as a kind of balancing.
Yeah, and that's all just if you're out there listening and you're going through kind of one of those rough patches, like take a I always tell people, get out if you got an iPhone, get out your iPhone, click on the all it is looking at today. Now click over and click the week, and I click over and click the month, and look at how much more time you have left. It's like click on the 2017 icon on the top left, and it pulls up all the months left in the year, and you're like, oh, okay. Take a bird's eye view of what you have left, and then you can kind of minimize it back again and say, all right, look at what I'm actually like trying to sacrifice or lose versus the big picture.
Yeah.
And that thought actually is what kind of got me into my second topic, which I'm a little more excited about.
Whoa.
Yeah.
One quick question before we leave this topic. Just because I'm curious, and I don't know the answer, and I was recently sick, and I know how that can play havoc with your attitude and mind, obviously. And do we know, let's say it is I don't know, some kind of gunk, which is I don't know how to define that necessarily, but I think everybody sort of knows what that is. And is there something better to eat or drink? Because I have a tendency to sort of get into that comfort food mode because I feel bad and all that, but I know that's the worst.
Wrong.
I know.
It's the worst. I mean, the healthier you can, anything that's easily digestible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what a lot of people don't ever kind of take into consideration is it takes energy. It takes your body a lot of energy to digest food. Yes. And that's why a lot of people will say when you're sick, you should go on some kind of a juice cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
If you can sleep a lot, because sleep is paramount. I mean, it takes the number one priority over everything else. But it's because you have so little in your digestive system for your body to work on, then it spends all of its other energy that it would normally use to digest foods to help you get better faster. And that's why they will tell you to do that. And then, but like you're exactly right. Most people are sick. They're like, I'm not working out. I feel like crap. How about some comfort food? And you eat all this processed junk, and then you just totally did the opposite thing.
Yeah.
Because now it's going to take your body even more energy and more hard work to process this crap. I mean, it's funny when people are like functioning at a very high level and they're not sick and they eat like crap one day, the next day they're shelled. Just because their body's like, what the hell did you just do to me?
Yeah, I know.
But then when you get sick and you're already compromised and you feel like junk and you're not running on, full prime, fifth gear, you're like, oh, well, it makes sense. Let me just eat some junk. And you're like, all right, well, it's like your pipes are clogged, and in order to unclog them, you just shove more junk down there, hoping it's gonna, defuse the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, easier said than done sometimes, because I think that eating health food when you're sick like that is just, it has a powerful effect, and that makes it feel even worse sometimes to me, at least in the immediate sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of foods are, work like an aphrodisiac for people. I mean, they give you a high for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a sugar rush. They make you feel good. I mean, that's why you see people who go through breakups or difficulties in their life or whatever it is, turn to sweets and food with like a high levels of non-nutrients, really processed ingredients that make you feel good. Like if you want a spike, go drink some coffee. It's like don't go order like a bowl of ice cream. Even though I've been guilty of that before for sure. But yeah, it's the worst thing you can do. I mean, I've done it a million times. I'm slowly learning my lesson. But yeah, the healthier and cleaner and more organic you can go, the better.
Okay, what's topic number 2, bud?
Topic number 2, and this hit me on a run on Thursday. Yeah, a run on Thursday, and it actually goes into our previous topic about being sick. But it was, what are your personal signs or my signs that you're totally bought into the long picture? And I think they're different for everybody, but I think there's generally a lot of underlying attributes and just training signs or decisions that people make for the good when they're totally bought into the process and they're totally bought into the long-term goal. No matter what it looks like, no matter what you're feeling that day, put your ego aside. This is what I know is good. I'm going to choose to do it. And that's honestly what sabotages, I would probably say, 9 out of 10 triathletes, because and when it comes to overtraining or making bad decisions, or I've got a nagging injury, let me go train still, and then you get hurt and your season's done. I'm not confident in my training. I'm so worried about this race. Let me do another 3-hour run and a 2-hour brick.
Yeah.
It's those decisions that are bad ones, and then you make them out of being scared. But so anyway, if you've been listening to this podcast, right, you know that I'm doing the Leadville 100 trail run in August, and that is my focus for this year. And a lot of my stuff has to, not a lot, but a couple of my runs every week have to be in like a really low heart rate, like my heart rate zone 1, which is like not recovery, but like the easiest run possible. And that includes, if I'm going up a very steep hill, that I walk.
Oh, wow.
Slash hike in order to keep my heart rate low, because a lot of people don't think about it. It's such a transition for me from going from Ironman marathon running to where you just don't want to walk, because once you do, it feels so good, and starting to run again feels terrible. I mean, it literally does. I think the 2 most painful steps you take from a running standpoint are both from walking, and it's from walking out of T2, from getting off your bike when you take those first few steps to run, and then the first couple steps after you choose to walk for the first time.
Yeah.
The first one, I think, is just straight pain from getting off your bike, and then also just from the blood shifting and you're kind of loosening up your legs. But the other one is mental, because it's like, man, there's nothing preventing you from walking. Like, you can walk. But choosing to run, it's like making that conscious choice. And for me, it's like mentally and emotionally just as painful as it is physical. But anyway, so I was on this run, and there's this just really, really steep, like 12 to 15% grade hill on the trail close to where we live. And I got to it, and my heart rate was inching up and inching up and inching up. And I stopped and I walked all the way to the top in order to keep my heart rate where it was. And I was thinking, I think 2 people passed me. Ooh. And that's when I thought, and yeah. and that's when I thought to myself, man, I know I'm totally bought in.
Yeah, but you can't let them do that. You're training for Leadville, man.
No, let them go. I caught them later. But that was it. Like, it was, all I cared about at that moment was doing the right thing, and knowing that although it's like a puzzle where you're putting a puzzle together. You put the outside. Well, some people do put the outside together first, because it kind of gives you the framework, and then you put the other pieces, along the frame and get to the middle. And to me, that run felt like a very, very small puzzle piece in the big picture of Leadville for me.
Yeah.
But every puzzle piece is important.
Yeah.
Because without it, you can't complete the whole puzzle. And for me, it was like, man. And I felt good. Yeah. I was like, man, look at me. Like, it normally I've been like, forget this, especially with 2 people behind me. I was like, I'm doing this for sure. But it felt good.
Yeah.
And then
it's funny.
Go ahead.
I have something that parallels right into that because, and this is in, I'm training for that half in Chattanooga, and I've committed, as you know, at least in the short term, in the last few weeks, I've really been focused on the pool. And one of my goals is to sort of, for lack of a better word, eliminate that event from my fear, or eliminate it almost completely, like to the point where I'm looking for that swim strength and confidence. But a lot of that comes with, like you're talking about those zone 1, 2 kind of distant mileage. At least for me, this is what's working for me. But one of the things that comes with that is that people in the lanes start passing you a lot. And I used to be that guy, man, that would be digging to, stick and hang around with people passing me, or at least not get blown away. And now I kind of like am comfortable in that place of letting them swim away. And it really feels good because that really means I'm in my race, And and that's such a huge factor, is to be able to be relaxed and in exactly the place that you've set out to be in. And I know what I'm doing at that speed, and if I'm swimming those 2,000 meters or whatever, and I feel comfortable when I get done, and I don't know, we haven't really talked about this, but in a sense I'm really just trying to figure out and be in good enough shape so that swim is just sort of not like anything for me, but it's important. You know what I mean? So I get out of the water and it's like I literally am warmed up. It's just sort of a warm up. It's not traditionally how it's been, where I've been just gassed and like holding on for dear life at the end. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I think that is sort of similar in the sense that I've committed to the long game.
Yeah, I mean, for you, it's like it's looking at that as part of the race, not a separate event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how people approach things like that. And what you're describing is totally what I'm getting at. It's like you're doing you. And we've talked this before. It's like in the age we live in, everything is so accessible and online and digital that people always have to preface, like, if they do a slower run, they have to put recovery run or easy run. It's like, just do you, because oftentimes, like, I see people running and I know that they're fast. And I'm like, I wonder what that person knows that I don't. It's like, it makes sense. It's like the guy who doesn't talk that you're the most afraid of when it comes to a fight. Not the loudmouth. It's
right.
like, what's he hiding? Or it's the old dude at the Y playing basketball who just schools everybody. It's like I think it's a different kind of confidence that you have, and that's what happened to me the next day too, because I was coming down with, I thought, I was like, I'm not sick, but I could just kind of feel just a little junky.
Mm-hmm.
And on Friday, I was supposed to do my speed work for the week. It was my biggest volume week yet. I was 44 miles of running this week, and I had my speed session that I've really been hitting. And so on tap was 6 half-mile repeats, whereas I was supposed to hold like between a 6-minute and 6:15-minute pace for those half miles. And I walked out the door and I was thinking, like, man, this would be a bad decision.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Like, I'm not so sick that I need to just take a day off, but I'm just going to go. I texted Allie and I was like, why don't we just do something together? So I left the house and ran super easy to the trailhead, and then she and Hayden met me, and I pushed him for like 3 miles. I think I ended up averaging, like, instead of what would have been like a low 7:30 minute pace for the entire run, I think I ended up averaging like 9:45s. My last 3 miles were like over 10 minutes, which for me is like the lowest low of my zone 1. But as much as I wanted to do that speed work and see like how much faster I'm getting and do that work, I didn't want to sacrifice it for the big picture.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, another sign of thinking, you know what? You got to listen to your own advice. And I think there are so many kind of signs that you have, and kind of in the course of your training, they all kind of happen early, hopefully, because it means you're bought in early. And it's like, what does that mean? And I think it's It is I think the ability to see the big picture is really, really difficult for people.
Yeah.
I know it used to be for me. It's like, gosh, it needs to be good today because I want it so bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with your your reason for and your why that we talk about a lot for wanting to do this specific race in the future and what it actually means to you. Because I've found in the past and with dealing with athletes and with myself, I'm more patient with the races where my motives are more pure than my training decisions would have been in the past where my agenda for racing, I wouldn't say it wasn't pure, but it was more ego number one, everything else, or filling a void, everything else afterwards, versus I want to do it to better myself, push myself to the limit, enjoy it, and kind of keep all my good things in the right order. And for me, that has been a huge difference in being more process, big picture oriented than impulse. I need it today. I'm going to do it today no matter what, and end up sacrificing something and then ultimately losing something.
Yeah, so much of the illusion, I think, in Ironman training and endurance sports in general is that, and if it doesn't really hurt, or if it doesn't, leave you sore, or if you know what I mean, if it doesn't do any of those things, it really wasn't a good effort. Maybe at least, I think generally that is a thought process with people. And what you said about how you felt like you were coming down maybe just on the edge and not, you could feel that sickness. And I know that feeling, and I know everybody probably knows it. And then you're walking out the door, and instead of saying, go after that run, why not say to yourself, okay, what's going to make me feel better right now? And it's usually, there's a million stories I've had in my life where, you've been laying around, you feel crappy or whatever, and then you go for a little run and you feel great. Or you go for a nice, easy bike ride and you feel a lot better. So it's almost like not letting it tip towards sickness, but maybe just giving yourself a little bit of blood flow, energy boost, and helping from falling into the bad side of that equation.
Yeah, I mean, you just said something that,
and that's love. That's loving yourself, really, is what that.
No, it really is. I mean, and you totally nailed something else that I kind of came across earlier in the week. I guess this was kind of a big transformative week for me. But you said something that hit me was, do what's going to make you feel the best. And I think that goes, and we talk about this all the time, I know, but I think that goes also to you personally, mentally and emotionally. What is going to do you the best? And Tuesday was Valentine's Day, and I was at home all day Monday with Hayden. He was sick, so we stayed home, and I was behind on work, and I didn't run, and I needed to get something done on Tuesday, and I walked out of the house, and it's Valentine's Day, and I'm like, man, we didn't have any huge plans. We had this date box that we got shipped to us for people who with infants that kind of have to do things in a rush. We can't really go out to dinner, some fancy restaurant. Not that I would anyway, but I was like, yeah, go ahead and run. I know it's important to you. And fully dressed, walked out of the house, made it literally 15 steps. And I was like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Turned right back around, walked upstairs, and I was like, why don't we get our date box out and let's do this? And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. Because my first 10 steps out the door weren't, I'm so excited to run, I can't wait to make myself feel good. Like today's run was that. Today's run, when I'm feeling my best and I go on a long run like this morning, excuse me, my first 2 miles is just I'm in this huge gratitude mode for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm man, life is so good. The sun's coming up. I'm this really can't get any better. And it feels good, and it's energizing my soul. The first 10 steps out the door that day were dude, what are you doing? You're going to feel guilty about it, and your run's not going to be even as focused because you're going to just feel bad the whole time. So what the hell? I was like, you know what? Turn right back around, went back inside, and I still ended up getting my workouts in for the week. But that was for me. That was another thing. Like you said, it's what's going to make you feel the best? Am I going to miss something, or am I really going to be doing something? And, I was able to reverse it, thankfully, by, making a good decision, hopefully earning some brownie points. So, babe, if you're listening, brownie points.
Yeah, big time, man. I'm impressed.
Thanks,
a lot
man.
of times that, getting on the trainer, those kind of things, I don't feel that sometimes, and sometimes I get on that thing and I'll just ride for 15 minutes and go, man, I just don't feel like this. And it's not the same thing. I don't have a commitment, really. I have a commitment maybe to do something else, maybe not, Valentine's Day or whatever. But I'll get off there, and what I do feel like doing in that moment, I've always been a big push-up kind of plank, kind of do stuff like that, natural body weight exercises. And I didn't feel like riding. I knew it just didn't agree with me maybe, but push-ups and planks and those, like some ab work or whatever, always makes me feel better. It makes me feel good. And then there's always that option of maybe getting on the bike a little bit later for me. And that's happened before as well, It's like maybe you just, I don't know, it's that warm-up or it's that transition piece we always talk about. Sometimes you just need a little shove in the direction to get the ball rolling, and then you'll get, you'll find that gratitude or that desire to actually get on the bike. Because I don't know, I'm just talking out my ass, but
no, I mean it makes total sense, because what you're doing is you're by doing that and making those choices, you're limiting your chances of resenting what you're doing.
Yes, that's exactly.
Because my athletes do this all the time. Like I'm just not feeling it today.
Mm-hmm.
Then take a day off. Or I can't fathom getting on my bike right now. And I think a lot of coaches like, get on your bike. You've got this. Then go run. Like if that's what you want to do, then do that. I mean, if it becomes an everyday thing, then we need to have a conversation. But about where you're headed and what direction it is, and I have an athlete that has kind of morphed that way this year. It was I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to do another full this year. I want to do all these things, and as I convinced him just not to commit to something off the bat, and I said, and now I think he hasn't ridden his bike in like 2 or 3 weeks. Because he just doesn't want to. He's like, I'm just loving swimming, and he's the guy who's doing the 10-mile swim the suck race, but he found something that he loves.
Yeah.
And I think what you were saying is so smart, and that people don't really. I talk about this all the time with some other friends of mine. It's like, or one actually earlier. She hurt her back doing something like real weird and was being really hard on stuff. I said, how about this? She's like, do you have any advice? And I said, yeah. Show yourself a little grace.
Yeah.
It's like, show yourself a little bit of grace. And we do this for fun. And what you're saying is a great example of what I think is just general maturity, that I don't want to resent this or hate this. And if I do it today, I'm probably not going to do it again for the week because I'm going to be so pissed that I did it. Whether I just skip it today and do something else and maybe do it tomorrow, Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, how many times you get on that bike and or do your run, whatever, and it just is so unfocused and not committed, and your heart's not there, and then it just is an awful workout anyway, a lot of times. And that's, again, it's that resentment piece that you only know that feeling. I know it's hard to get out the door. It's hard to get on the bike. It's hard to run a lot of times. Sometimes you got to suck it up. But when it gets to the point where you just can't look at it and, figure something else out. I wrote about that. I'll bring it back up because I just said it. But the transition piece is a huge, huge one for me. My next purchase is actually going to be a basketball hoop that I put out in my backyard, because that's real easy for me to roll out there and shoot a few jumpers. And I think that kind of activity is huge for me to get the blood flowing and get mentally in a place where I feel like getting on a bike. Instead of just jumping on a bike, or driving 40 miles to get on a bike out at the trace or whatever, those kind of things are difficult for me sometimes. But if I get a little warmed up and get the body moving around and it changes my whole demeanor too, and my whole posture towards the actual exercise. So, I think that the point being, many times we look at what's staring us in the mirror as far as a workout, and it kind of gives us a state of pause, or kind of like, I don't know if I'm up for it, but it's sort of like, what can get you into it? What can shoehorn you into the beginning of that? And then, as we know, once you're going and once you feel good about the introduction to that, whatever it is, that workout, then it just changes, right? As you get going.
It's all transition. You transition from one thought process to another, and you're either gonna there's something you're gonna enjoy more than others, and it's just finding the route to doing that the most often, and putting in and setting yourself up for success to do it to where it's not some daily battle, it's just an occasional one, and then when it is an occasional one, you can make the right decision to do it or not do it.
Yeah, and obviously, if you get in a good pattern, those things work out easier. Where I'm all over the map, so depending on when I schedule a workout, and that could be usually later in the morning or afternoon, it's just I know that I'm going to be in a mindset to want to go tackle it versus getting straight out of bed. I still haven't conquered that, and that could be my downfall as a triathlete in the long run, because I guess most races start in the morning. Is there still one that starts at noon that I want to do?
No, that was the one in Boise, and they scrapped that one.
Man, they are really losing a lot of customers.
Yeah, you and like two other people.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, are you gonna go take a steam?
No, man. I'm gonna gargle some salt water and cook up some food.
That sounds good.
I got the house to myself tonight, so.
Ooh.
Crazy
party
time.
City. Crazy time.
Party City.
Yeah. Well, my buddy's in town, so I'm gonna get going. We're gonna probably grab some lunch or dinner, some healthy dinner. Get this thing going here.
Enjoy it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thursday it is. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you soon.
See you, man.